Tonight on KPBS Evening Edition, a deadly school shooting 2 hours north. Police say a student targeted his classmates. The latest on what we know tonight. And if you see something, say something. The new tool that offers help for kids who are abused and bullied at school.
I would be in the drawers in the kitchen cooking and looking for something, and I'm like, where is it? Where is it? And I'd be like, oh, it burned in the fire.
It's more than a physical recovery. How mental health is also a major hurdle for victims of wildfires.
It was a mixture of all people from different areas, and it just so happens that we all came together for this first team.
And a special reunion for veterans who played a key role in helping the first Navy SEAL team. KPBS Evening Edition starts now. Good evening. It's Thursday, November 14th. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Yet again, America is watching the frantic aftermath of a school shooting, this time in Southern California. Police say a student who just turned 16 today began shooting at Saugus High School in Santa Clarita. That's about an hour north of LA. In all, 5 students were shot and 2 of them have died. Police say the shooter then shot himself. More now from Camilla Burnell.
It's the sound that no student wants to hear.
It was like bang and then bang, bang, bang.
Just after 7:30 in the morning, local time, students at Saugus High School forced to run or hide.
We heard the one shot and then 4 after, and we just started running. And just all I heard was all these kids running and just screaming and calling their parents.
But some unable to escape.
Within 2 minutes, at 7:40, our first units arrived on scene and encountered in the quad area of the school multiple victims.
Officials confirming 2 students died after being treated. Others remained at the hospital. The shooter also among the injured.
Detectives have reviewed the video at the scene, which clearly show the subject in the quad withdraw a handgun from his backpack, shoot and wound 5 people, and then shoot himself in the head.
Authorities continuing their investigation and combing through social media in an attempt to figure out how and why.
We will run all the leads to ground, but at this point we have no indication of any motivation or ideology.
Camila Bernal, KPBS News.
And it's worth noting local law enforcement quickly increased patrols at area campuses following the Santa Clarita shooting. SDPD also tells us there are no local threats at this time. The move was just precautionary. The mental trauma from a mass shooting can be devastating, especially for those involved. Tonight, we've confirmed that the spiritual leader of the Chabad of Poway is stepping aside 6 months after the deadly shooting there. We get more now from KPBS reporter Priya Sridhar.
April 27th, a gunman entered the synagogue in Poway. He opened fire, killing 60-year-old Lori Kay and injuring 3 others. The congregation's rabbi, 57-year-old Israel Goldstein, lost a finger. He visited the White House in the days after the attack.
I faced him, and I had to make a decision. Do I run and hide, or do I stand tall and fight and protect all those that are there?
This week, Goldstein made another decision. He became Rabbi Emeritus of the congregation. His son, Mendel Goldstein, will take over the day-to-day duties. News reports say the rabbi is stepping down due to PTSD from the incident. 20-year-old John T. Ernest was arrested and charged with more than 100 counts in connection with the shooting. He told police he committed the shooting because the Jewish people were destroying the white race. Now the Jewish community is working to move forward and heal from the tragedy. This weekend, the Chabad of San Diego will host a celebration that brings together synagogues from around the world.
This year's project is focused on unity, peoplehood, rising together, being together, supporting each other, and just creating as much of a community as we already have and enhancing it even more.
The events will include dinners, services, and concerts with the theme of unity in tragedy. Priya Sridhar, KPBS News.
And this weekend will bring more unity and celebration for San Diego's Jewish community. Thousands are expected to attend the Unity Celebration in North Park. It's on Saturday night at the Observatory. Doors open there at 6 o'clock. And another story of a community moving forward, the Walmart in El Paso, where 22 people were killed this summer, reopened today. An El Paso Strong banner now hangs at the front of the store. 26 others were injured in the attack. Police say the suspected shooter targeted Mexicans. The FBI is treating the case as domestic terrorism. Protecting kids from harm. That's the goal of a new online tool unveiled by county prosecutors today that allows people to report suspected abuse of students in school. KPBS reporter Matt Hoffman has more.
It's meant to address when there is an adult abusing a minor or there's a student abusing another student.
District Attorney Summer Stephan is launching a new task force where students, teachers, parents, and others can report incidents online of suspected physical or sexual abuse.
Making sure that the gaps are closed and that there is not any situation where a person who's harming kids is just moving around from school to school without real accountability.
This task force works independently from school districts, meaning if a student or a parent makes a complaint there and feels like it's not being addressed, they can also use this tool to report it to the district attorney's office.
Like they see a suspicious text or something, or their child seems unhappy, they're being bullied, and they go to the school and they don't feel that they're getting a response.
Stephan says schools should welcome this new reporting system, and she wants the link posted on school websites. She stresses that you don't have to wait until you see a crime being committed to make a report.
Sometimes people are waiting to actually see a sex act on school grounds, but they're not going to see that. They're going to see grooming behavior, they're going to see attention, they're going to see signs that indicate something inappropriate is happening, and that must be reported.
Reports of suspected abuse can be something that happened recently or in the past.
Let us worry about whether the time has passed in terms of prosecution.
To make a report of abuse, you do not have to give your name, but you'll need to provide an email address.
I don't see the task force being a temporary thing. I see it as here to stay.
To submit a report, go to the DA's website, sdcda.org. Matt Hoffman, KPBS News.
A local father is being hit with the toughest sentence yet in the college admissions scandal. Former real estate executive Toby McFarland from Del Mar was sentenced to 6 months in prison. He's also ordered to pay a $150,000 fine and perform 200 hours of community service. McFarland pleaded guilty to conspiracy and fraud counts. Prosecutors say McFarland gave William Rick Singer $450,000 to get his son and daughter admitted to USC as star athletes when neither of them were. And it's no secret, San Diego is an especially expensive place to live. And while City Heights has been a traditionally affordable community, that trend is changing. Speak City Heights reporter Ebony Monet explains.
City Heights has long been one of San Diego's more affordable communities. A quick search of listings shows single-family, 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom homes going for anywhere from $430,000 to nearly $1 million.
You can still find homes for sale here in City Heights for less than $574,000. That's the median home price for the county. But real estate professionals say the high demand and the low inventory is driving those prices up.
Well, home sales are still moving pretty well.
Carla Farley is a broker and the president of the Greater San Diego Association of Realtors.
City Heights still is one of the most affordable areas in San Diego, so we still get a little upward tick in our sales.
Houses in City Heights are selling faster than the county average. Zillow's mortgage income calculator estimates to afford to buy a medium-priced one, you'll need to earn at least $113,000 a year, which is more than double the median household income for the area. Farley says potential buyers should work with a team with extensive knowledge about programs designed to help low to moderate income earners realize their home ownership goals.
It is still very possible, and so that's the thing that keeps us going, and it's the reason why I do what I do, because you create that legacy, you see what happens.
Ebony Monet, KPBS News.
I'm Judy Woodruff. Tonight on the NewsHour, emails reveal top Trump aide Stephen Miller promoted white nationalist ideas. Coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
Problems from last month's power outages aren't over yet. Some people are getting billed for days they were in the dark. Shauna Turner is one of them. She lives in El Dorado County in the Sierra Nevada foothills. Her home was without power for more than a week, but her bill says otherwise.
Estimated. And then bam, our power's back on and we use the same amount of power. So I want to know why I'm getting billed.
And other PG&E customers say they're seeing the same issue. The utility tells reporters it shouldn't be happening and that the bills are a temporary estimate, not a reflection of actual use. PG&E says it's also giving credits to customers who went longer than 2 days without power. The risk of wildfires comes and goes, but the trauma these fires inflict on families can linger for a lifetime. KPBS science and technology reporter Shalina Chatlani explores why some psychologists say mental health should be part of your emergency plans.
Megan Queen and her husband Joe Queen were sleeping in their house in Rancho Bernardo when smoke started to fill the sky. They awoke to sirens.
Yeah, we looked out the window and there was like a wall of flames just coming down the hill, and I think one of us said, we got to get out of here.
We woke our kids up and they were 1 and 6, so our son, who's 6 at the time, he didn't get up right away, and we had to yell at him again to get up, and we need to move.
The Queens arrived in Rancho Bernardo 6 months before October 2007, when the Witch Creek wildfire ripped through hundreds of thousands of acres of land and destroyed over 1,200 homes. Flames were all around the family as they drove to get away.
We were so traumatized, we got lost. We didn't know where we were going.
The Queens eventually made it to an evacuation center with their kids, but the next day, they found out that their rented house had burned down. They've settled in a home close to their old neighborhood, but Megan says the fire still lives with them over a decade later.
I would be in the drawers in the kitchen cooking and looking for something, and I'm like, where is it? And I'd be like, oh, it burned in the fire. And then that would kind of sadden us.
People cope with losing personal belongings, homes, and pets differently. UC Los Angeles psychologist Emmanuel Maidenberg says while some recover quickly, others experience long-lived trauma.
They experience symptoms as if it was happening again, anticipatory anxiety, not being able to fall asleep, changes in appetite, irritability, and feeling as if something terrible may happen at any point.
Megan Queen, for example, says even the smell of smoke or news of hot and dry Santa Ana winds can put her on high alert. Maidenberg says those already experiencing stress when a fire breaks out may be more susceptible to these symptoms over time. And some people are genetically wired to develop post-traumatic stress more easily. Post-traumatic stress is common enough, but the American Psychiatric Association also estimates 1 in 11 U.S. adults will be diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder in their lifetime.
The changes can be detected on all levels, behavioral level, emotional level, psychological level, if you make a difference, distinction, and then physiological level, including brain.
Through these experiences, our belief about ourselves and the world around us has been changed.
Tina Casola is a licensed mental health counselor the Red Cross calls upon during natural disasters. Here at the Red Cross in Kearney Mesa, emergency responders are equipped with computers and maps to quickly dispatch resources. While they send out material goods, they also provide mental health services. That's because people go through a lot when disaster strikes, and they need to talk about it, says Casola.
A lot of times it has to do with trust, and that's not only trust of others, which is easy to see, but a lot of times it's trust in ourselves. Did I make the right decision? Should I have done something differently?
That type of thinking might happen as displaced families sit in an evacuation center right after fleeing a fire.
In our fire situations, there's a lot of, I call it limbo time, where we don't have information, we don't know what's happening, and that can be very distressing on people.
Casola says Red Cross services can help alleviate some pain, but some people may need more help, and they may not know they need it before it's too late. That's why Casola says residents should factor mental health into their emergency plans before disaster strikes, along with material necessities like food and money.
who do I have to support me? What are the really important things to me? How do I reach out for help? And then even knowing, how do I know when I need help? How am I going to read my body?
As fire season continues, one thing Casola recommends is that people know ahead of time who they could go to for support in case of an emergency. In fact, Megan and Joe Queen say they took advantage of counseling opportunities through the community so they can be prepared to handle stress and personal loss if events like a major wildfire happen again.
It's easy to sit there and focus on, I lost my yearbook. When you look at that, you start getting down and go, oh, it does suck. I don't have this or that anymore. But, we have everybody.
Megan and Joe also say they're prepared. They now keep sentimental items like family photographs in a box by the door. Shalina Chatlani, KPBS News.
And we have an elevated fire risk as we head toward the weekend. Winds will pick up in some areas. Marvin Gomez has our forecast tonight.
As we take a look at some of the weather highlights here for you, we are going to see the return of the offshore flow for the weekend, and tomorrow temperatures are expected to be where they should be for this time of the year. Heading into Saturday, temperatures will be between 5 and 10 degrees above the normal, and then 10 to 15 degrees above the normal heading into our Sunday. And of course, that deep marine layer that we are noticing today and the one we will have tomorrow will also be decreasing as we go through the weekend. For tonight, 58 degrees will be the low here across the metro area. The rest of San Diego County, temperatures are coming down to 52 degrees across Oceanside, Borrego Springs, 51, Mount Laguna, 43. The higher elevations as we head into the weekend will get to experience some breezy conditions as well. For tomorrow, 83 will be the high for Borrego Springs, Mount Laguna, 62 degrees, and it's going to be very pleasant across Chula Vista with temperatures near 69 degrees. As we head into the weekend, like I said, we are going to see the return of those offshore winds, very low relative humidity for much of the state. So again, for us here at home, to the north of us in the Southern California coastline, we have an increased fire risk as we go through the weekend, especially any areas with a dry vegetation. Your AccuWeather forecast for the coast indicating those increasing temperatures heading into Sunday with a high of 83. Dry weather will continue. Definitely no signs of rain, at least for the next 5 days across inland areas. 89 for Sunday. The mountain forecast showing a high of 65. Again, with windy conditions on Sunday, and across the deserts, temperatures will be in the upper 80s as we head into the weekend. For KPBS News, I'm AccuWeather's Marvin Gomez. Back to you.
California's Oroville Dam is a success story in repairing critical infrastructure. And earlier this year, water started flowing again after it was rebuilt following storm damage in 2017. But across the U.S., communities are at risk. AP reporter Alan Breed looks at a problem that will cost billions to fix.
During their last inspection, Texas engineers rated the condition of this 91-year-old hydroelectric dam near San Antonio as fair. An almost identical dam on the Guadalupe River at Lake Dunlap had an overall rating of good, right up until it failed this past May.
It was a shock to everybody. I mean, yeah, they kept saying that this was the best one out of the mix.
Across the country, dams are in a state of decay that is endangering thousands of people who live downstream.
There were a lot of dams constructed in the earlier part of the 20th century, and a lot of those dams were not built up to today's standards, and they need to be upgraded.
A 2-year Associated Press investigation identified nearly 1,700 high-hazard dams in 44 states and Puerto Rico that are listed in unsatisfactory or poor condition. Several states, including Texas, did not provide complete data. The dams are considered high hazard because of the likelihood that people could die if they failed. That happened in 2006 when this privately owned dam in Hawaii collapsed, killing 7. One man died this past March when heavy ice smashed through the 92-year-old Spencer Dam in Nebraska.
So in light of climate change and other potential inclement weather effects, we have to look at scenarios that perhaps weren't in the cards when these structures were designed.
In October 2015, Dozens of South Carolina dams failed during heavy rains. The following year, 20 dams in North Carolina breached during Hurricane Matthew.
There unfortunately continue to be a lot of dams that are inspected and problems are identified. The dam owner is either unwilling or unable to make those repairs.
The city of Atlanta recently took this reservoir offline and partially drained it after water began bubbling up near businesses beneath its earthen dam.
There was kind of a period where there was this sort of perpetual seepage that was kind of coming down the hill and coming down the street.
California boosted its dam safety budget by $7 million following the 2017 spillway failure at Oroville Dam, the nation's tallest. A post-failure review of the Lake Dunlap Dam in Texas found that the steel hinges on a spillway gate had rusted. But when the Guadalupe Blanco River Authority announced that it would drain several lakes with similarly aged dams, homeowners sued and won an injunction.
Entire economies and ways of life have developed around what started out as a civil engineering project. And you can't take that away.
Both sides have agreed to keep boaters and swimmers away from the dams while they study how to repair them and who will bear the multi-million-dollar cost. One estimate puts the total price tag at $70 billion to repair the nation's 90,000 dams. Alan Breed, Associated Press.
California gets the nation's highest marks for coastal protection policies. A report out this week from California-based Heal the Bay looked at how the country's 31 coastal states are dealing with climate change. Surfrider Foundation's Stephanie Seekich-Quinn says only 8 states are doing a fair or better job. She says California got the top rating of A.
California has mandates and executive orders that require the state to do proactive sea level rise planning. In fact, it's one of the only states that has all of these regulations and statutes in place to do this type of planning.
And the Surfrider Foundation says nearly half the states got poor or failing remarks. The group says facing the problem is important because sea level rise could cause chronic flooding for more than 300,000 homeowners around the nation. They deploy alongside the Navy SEALs, though it has never made them famous. KPBS military reporter Steve Walsh says combat craft operators are attempting to preserve their history.
Like the SEALs, their modern history dates back to the Vietnam War, where they built and piloted boats used for clandestine missions up the rivers of North Vietnam. Jack Burge was recently in San Diego for the group's 55th year reunion. In 1964, he received orders to report to Coronado.
I was the only engineman in the group, and we had electricians, we had gunners, mate. It was a mixture of all people from different areas, and it just so happens that we all came together for this first team.
The first boats were built and maintained for the South Vietnamese. Eventually, they were paired with the newly formed Navy SEALs. The Special Warfare Combat Craft crews have deployed alongside SEALs ever since. Jack Spratt retired after 30 years in the Navy. He trained on the swift boat that is now in the San Diego Maritime Museum. In the late 1980s, he was assigned to combat craft, where he helped build small, fast boats.
Desert Storm came along and the invasion of Kuwait. And they used that, the Navy Special Warfare used that as an opportunity to send the high-speed boats and prove the concept in combat.
They've mainly kept out of the spotlight, says unit veteran William Redman, who joined the boat crews after the 1983 Marine barracks bombing in Lebanon.
We're always mistaken to be SEALs, when in actuality, even though we fight along with them, we do our own missions without them, and we don't talk about it. We keep that private and within our community.
Their motto is the quiet professionals. Historians among the group recently published Warboats, a history of the unit which continues to be a separate companion unit to the now more famous Navy SEALs. Steve Walsh, KPBS News.
Local veterans are part of a new national campaign where they are featured talking with friends, with family, or other veterans about the gaps between military and civilian life. We're playing samples of those audio interviews as part of a series this week. Here's Army veteran Marcus Priolo talking with friend and fellow vet Al Leharde.
There was numerous occasions that I've occupied jails and prison
But this time it was a little different. It was the veteran module. And here I learned that I had a special place where there was other brothers that shared my experience. It gave me a spark of hope, like maybe there is help within the system for veterans trying to change their life.
The things that we struggled with when we were transitioning from our military service to civilian life was our identities and what happens when our services end. What I've found out since getting out, since 2009, was there's ways to continue that sense of service.
I learned that service became my saving grace, getting outside of myself, not sitting in my self-pity or my self-doubt or my hopelessness, and to do something for somebody else, to be around other brothers and sisters that have served, to go out into the community and establish some roots and to give a hand up. That kept me feeling like there's another side. I would not be here if it weren't for you, Al. I never wanted to wake up the next day. And now I look forward to it. And now I have a brother like you, man, and a family, and I'm just honored. I thank God for what I have today.
Brother, I love you. I'm proud of you. Thank you for this time.
Powerful stuff. And tomorrow you'll hear more from Navy veteran talking about her service with her young children. And a programming note now. Tomorrow, KPBS will once again have live coverage of the impeachment hearings in Congress. You can find those on all of our platforms. Thank you for joining us tonight. Have a great evening.